up, everyone? I'm Jacarius Stanley, and welcome to BossFm Now, where you can all on BossFM to deliver the latest and greatest in pop culture, politics, and whatever is buzzing in the streets. We do it for the culture.
That's right, Jacarius. And because we know that you have your phone in your hand, we need you to go ahead and download the BossFM app from your app store and follow us at BossFM Radio on all our social media platforms so that you can stay connected.
That's right, guys. All right, getting into new things. We got a new episode of Entertainment Corner with Marion, Rapid Fire with David, and we are going to shed some light on Quavo and Salty's recent altercation. Let's get into it.
Good evening, everyone. Our first story of the day is about the CDC's eviction ban. The CDC is extending their national ban on evictions until the end of June. This ban was supposed to end on April 2nd. Many think that the ban has been postponed because evictions can lead to extra cases of COVID-19. The Census Bureau states that about 20% of adult renters were unable to pay rent last month. According to research from all over America, allowing evictions caused up to 433,000 excess cases of COVID between March and September of last year. 2 federal judges and a couple property owners have already started criticizing this extension.
I'm glad CDC has extended that because I know some people who are very thankful for that. I have a couple friends, who actually were having trouble finding employment during this pandemic, so that helps them a lot.
It's super helpful, and I'm really happy they extended it because people were finding out that in a couple days they were going to have nowhere to go, and now we have this extension, which is going to release a lot of that stress for people who are already worrying about so many different monetary things. Contributor David Medina has a new episode of Rapid Fire. Let's check that out.
What's up, guys? You guys are now tuned in to Rapid Fire. I'm your host, David Medina with BossFm Now. Now let's hop into the latest trendy news. YG donates 50 pairs of his $200 block runner shoes to the homeless. He says they are influenced by West Coast culture. The $200 Nike Cortez inspired sneakers sold out 8 minutes after they were released online. Crafted with 100% leather and designed in LA, the low-top block runners are the first shoes to be released from the 400's The Flame sneaker imprint. YG also donated $10,000 worth of personal protective equipment to families in emergency crisis housing last year. Fans who missed out on the initial drop may be able to get a pair at the next 400 pop-up shop on Melrose Avenue, April 2nd. Newly released figures from Public Health England for March 28th reported 0 COVID-19 deaths in London for the second time this year, the last being February 27. Although this Public Health England news is great, the government is still stressing the importance of the roadmap that was announced earlier this year, which includes people working from home where possible and minimizing the number of journeys they take. England's lockdown will ease up further on April 12th, with all non-essential shops and outdoor hospitality set to reopen. Hard Summer unveils 2021 festival lineup featuring Future, Lil Durk, 2 Chainz, and more. The festival will return this summer with a new location and an expectedly stacked lineup. Hard Summer 2021 will take place at the Nas Event Center in San Bernardino on July 31st and August 1st. Passes for the 2-day festival go on sale starting April 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with a $10 deposit. That's it for the latest trending news on Rapid Fire. I'm your host David Medina with BossFm Now. Now back to the guys in the studio.
It's pretty crazy to think that in just a couple months, there's going to be like a real music festival that people are actually going to be able to attend because of vaccinations. That is not something I thought we were going to have for a while. And also that lineup, that looks pretty awesome. I might have to buy a ticket to that myself.
Yes, that looks amazing. And they're not the only place to be doing it. I think I saw something that showed Spain just recently held a music concert that allowed up to 5,000 people in. So I think we're getting really near. In other news,
super exciting.
Right. Yes, it is. All right, guys. In other news, we got another TikTok recipe with Marion. Let's check it out and see how this goes.
guys in the studio. So for today's TikTok recipe, I decided I wanted some ramen. So I decided to look through TikTok to see if there were any cool new recipes. But then I remember that Kylie Jenner recipe craze a couple years ago with like egg and ramen that people loved so much? Apparently TikTok still think that's kind of trendy, so let's try it out.
All right, so I have the water boiling and then I put the noodle packets in there, and then I'm going to show you my ingredients. So I have basically the shrimp noodles, and I also have an egg for this. I also have butter, and I have adobo powder and curry powder. I was trying to look for garlic powder, but I couldn't find any, so I decided to use between the two. And then I also have basil for a nice garnish. And now when the noodles are done, I decided to drain the water, and then I put the egg in, and that's when it went a little downhill because I think I should have mixed the egg beforehand, because it looked okay when I started mixing it in, but then the eggs just started really scrambling and it just honestly looked really thick. And then I put the shrimp seasoning packet in there because that was the flavor. I also added some adobo powder, all seasoning. Put some butter in there. Stirred that up. All right, and this is how it turned out with a little bit of basil on top. And honestly, it looked okay and it tasted pretty fine. It's just, I know it could have been a lot better. And yeah, so that was your TikTok recipe for the week. This has been your host, Marion Palmer.
I'd like to welcome to the studio Marion. So Marion, how would you rate your food on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, like, it tasted pretty fine. I would give it a 5. It could have tasted a lot better, but presentation, it deserves a 4, honestly. It didn't look that appealing, but you know.
You're too hard on yourself. I would eat those, no questions asked. I've never seen anyone make noodles like that. I missed out on that whole trend.
Really? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to add a little bit of garnish. Yeah, I know Kylie Jenner made hers look a little bit better. I think I used too many ingredients, honestly. Like, it looked a lot more complicated when I did it, and I think it could have been a lot, you know, it could have been a lot more appealing and could have tasted better if I just kind of relaxed on trying to make it so, like, gourmet, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely think that it looked amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Marion, and we'll see you again in a couple minutes. Moving right along, Jacarius has some information on New York State legalizing marijuana use.
Yeah, those in New York might want to look at Marion's recipe because they're sure going to be hungry. New York State will become the 15th state to legalize marijuana, and this is a big step up from the law they passed in 2019 that would expunge past convictions and reduce the penalty for possessing small amounts of marijuana. The new legislation would do things such as creating a framework that would develop licensing for marijuana producers and assisting individuals that were negatively impacted by cannabis enforcement in the past. In a press release, Governor Andrew Cuomo said, for generations, too many New Yorkers have been unfairly penalized for the use and sale of adult cannabis. After years of tireless advocacy and extraordinary hard work, the time is coming to an end in New York State. And I believe it's going to be a great time in New York. What do you guys think?
I'm just excited that we are continuing to take steps forward to help reduce the amount of people who are impacted by these small amount cannabis charges. Adding those legislations is extremely important. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard this just yet, but recently footage between Saweetie and Quavo has been released showing an altercation. So let's see what all the fuss is about. So as you guys can see in this video, it seems that Saweetie and Quavo got into this elevator and they just immediately started fighting, almost as if they were having this altercation outside of the elevator and then brought it in. In this moment in time, we aren't 100% sure exactly why this was happening or the issues that are surrounding it. We just know that we have this footage. There are people online that have been claiming that the orange disc that you guys might have seen, the orange plastic piece that was in the scene that they seem to be like fighting over and grabbing, could potentially be like a game console case. But then we also see here that there's this person who is at the elevator who sees what's going on and does not get out or into the elevator, and then they just continue having this conversation. And like I just said, we have no idea what exactly is going on here besides the fact that there was this fight. Now, there has been rumors in the past related to these two and their breakup. Saweetie said that there could have potentially been some cheating, and there's also talks and rumors about repoing her car, that something that Quavo did, but he has denied many of these claims. And as the video continues, we see her trying to get up. He does not help her at all. He is just standing outside of the elevator, making her kind of do everything on her own. She grabs something once they get off the elevator, and then we're done. So I'd like to welcome back to the studio Marion, and I'd like to welcome CJ. So Marion, what did you think about this video?
Well, initially just watching it, I was like, this is really intense. Like I never really would have thought that this relationship ever went physical. Like I know that they broke up recently and that there were possibly cheating allegations, but I never really thought that that was their relationship. Like it goes to show you really don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
And CJ, how about you? How do you feel about all of this?
Yeah, I agree because every time you see them online, they look like kind of like a lot of people's goals. And then to see something like this, it's really shocking. But I will say that I'm happy they're not together anymore because I think any time in a relationship you reach a point where things are getting physical, like that's the one sign that you don't need to be in a relationship anymore. It seemed clear that both of them, kind of had, we don't know what happened, but it looked like they both had an equal part in that whole exchange. So I hope they're doing better now that they're apart.
And Jacarius, what were your initial thoughts when you first saw this?
Well, I know for sure to take starting a relationship off a DM a little more cautiously, because how those things started, how that looked completely like my worst nightmare for what a relationship should be. But at the same time, this, what I would assume to be a high luxury apartment, hotel, whatever it may be, would have a audio system, but it doesn't. So we can't really hear the sound or what they're arguing about to get more insight on what's going on, So I don't want to make any final judgments just yet.
Yes, because as of this moment, we really have no conversation going between Quavo or Saweetie at all right now. There is no talk about what happened. This did just release yesterday, so they might be waiting to make a statement or to see if this all blows over. But it really is kind of up in the air as to what is going on here and why this happened and what happened after this as well.
I believe I
Yeah.
just
Well, yeah, just recently I know that they were on Twitter, like almost not really having a Twitter battle, but like they were kind of subtweeting each other. And it's just interesting, like what she had to say about breaking away from the relationship, and then when he commented back, like looking back in hindsight, it's almost like, like no, like it seemed like he was trying to paint her in a different light, and then knowing that this is what he's done and this is now resurfacing. It's just interesting, the timing of it. It's sad all the way through. Like this is a couple that a lot of people thought were relationship goals and they looked really happy together, and it's just sad that things really aren't the way they seem.
Yeah, and on that note of people, them having that like Twitter exchange, I remember then and today, it's super interesting seeing like the parasocial relationships that people form with celebrities, because constantly, like I feel like I'm just seeing people projecting like their own personal relationship experience and like their hot takes. Like we all, just acknowledge that we have no clue like what's going on in this video, and it's just really, I find it kind of strange that people, jump to these like conclusions and try to like place their own personal takes on something we have no clue about. We know what we saw, but like anything further than that, I just feel like people got to take a step back.
Yeah, that's a great point, honestly.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The things that get projected on social media, the relationship that gets projected on social media is not the same as the relationship that happens at home or that happens out and about or that happened in that elevator. Those are different things because we see these things on social media, we think we know someone, but then we see these things in real life. And again, just as you guys both said, we do not know what's happening, what happened, why there's all these things going on. And so we have to take a step back from our initial reaction and understand that we have no context for this.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%.
Well, thank you two both for joining us, and I think we'll see you guys either at the end of today or maybe tomorrow. So thank you, Mary, and thank you, CJ. Enjoy the rest of your guys' night.
Megan has new reports. No, Rebecca's back with another piping hot cup of tea. Let's take a sip.
Welcome to Tea with Becca. Grab your cups, take a sip, because the tea is here for you. And today we're going to talk about how, according to a new study, Prince William was named the world's sexiest bald man. So researchers found that Prince William was described as sexy 17.6 million times in blogs, reports, and pages found through Google search. Now, amongst that list, Mike Tyson was rated number 2 and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was rated at number 9. Now, if Rebecca had to make her own list, Boris Kodjoe would come number 1, Morris Chestnut would be number 2. Now, some people might disagree with me with number 3, but Steve Harvey, and then number 4 would have been Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, if you believe that he is a sexy man, you are entitled to your own opinion. Do I believe you might be going blind? Yes. But if that's what you describe as sexy and that's where you set your beauty standards for a man, by all means, go ahead. But he is not sexy in Rebecca's book. But that's all the tea we have for today. But don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow.
I agree with Rebecca on this one. Now, as she said, if that's who you think is the sexiest person ever, go nuts. That's your opinion. But personally, for me, that's not it at all. That's
Well, you know,
not
when
it.
you're well, you know, when you're a prince, looks really don't matter. At least I would think. Hey, anything you say is kind of goes, you know, respectfully, of course.
Oh, definitely. He's already got a leg up because he has a title. I mean, I don't understand how this study concluded this. Apparently, they took a bunch of surveys and added that with all this information. But I just feel like there's a lot of sexy bald men out there that we are not appreciating enough. So I don't know. I feel like it probably should have been someone different.
Right, right. Well, Megan, can you please tell us about church memberships from last year?
Oh, yes, of course. A Gallup poll released on Monday found that in 2020, 47% of adults in America belong to some sort of religious organization. Gallup has been polling these religious membership polls since 1937. This is the first time in 80 years that the percentage has fallen below 50%. While religious membership is decreasing, the amount of people with no religious preference is growing. In 2000, only 8% of Americans did not identify with a religious group. That number has now grown to 21%. Women had the largest decline in religious membership. In 2000, 73% reported membership. Now, that percentage has dropped to 53.
I hope you don't mind me asking, are you yourself, do you participate in anything religiously?
I used to when I was younger, but now I kind of feel like I fall in that group where I don't really have a specific religious group that I like go to on the weekends. So I can see, and a lot of people around me too are kind of like that. So I can understand where these numbers are coming from.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have a couple people around me like that too, and I definitely see it. In other news, contributor CJ Atkins has a new segment of Entertainment Corner just for us. Let's take a look.
Thank you, Jakarius and Rebecca. I'm CJ here with your Entertainment Corner. Let's get into it.
Good news for the fans of FX crime drama series Snowfall. FX has just renewed the show for its 5th season, about halfway through the currently airing 4th season. The John Singleton created crime drama follows the story of the crack epidemic in the 80s. While the story is centered in Los Angeles, the 4th season has seen the damage the peak of the crack era caused reach far outside the confines of LA, leaving many fans wondering just where the show will take us next. In more Lil Nas X news, you've probably seen him making headlines for his controversial music video depicting him and Satan in some rather compromising positions. This has gotten him more than his fair share of backlash. Nas has been going back and forth with state governors on Twitter about satanic messages in his music and merch. Speaking of which, Nas has more trouble on his hands than just critics now. After announcing a collab with lifestyle brand Mischief that would see the release of 666 pairs of reworked Air Max 97s featuring pentagrams, 666, and even a drop of human blood in the sole, Mischief and Lil Nas X are now being sued for copyright infringement by Nike. What happens with this case remains to be seen, but there's a good chance the pop star could be paying a steep price for his controversy. And this has been CJ with your Entertainment Corner. Back to you, Jakarius and Rebecca.
Thank you so much, CJ, for that. So what was your favorite story that you did for Entertainment Corner this week?
I'd probably say the Lil Nas X thing because I've been hearing about it like a whole bunch all over online, but I didn't know what it was about. And so once I finally dove into it for this package, I was like, whoa. You know, the last time I remember Lil Nas X, I just knew him as a troll with the Old Town Road and all of that. But seems like he's really coming into his own now.
Well, thank you so much for that, CJ. We're just a little short on time, but we'll catch you tomorrow. Jakarius has our last story of the night. So, Jakarius, share that with us.
Yes, I would advise all seniors, graduating high school seniors, to go to Brown University. And why? Well, Brown University is now going to be paying descendants to all families who were identified with being enslaved Africans that were affected by the university family. The undergraduate council showed that students voted to include reparations through multiple channels, including admissions for descendants of enslaved people and making them their first preference. And the university will also invest in Black communities. Brown is not the first college to issue reparations to the descendants of slaves. The university follows Georgetown University, Princeton, and the University of Chicago. I say this is a step in the right direction.
I agree 100%. But unfortunately, everyone, that is actually it for Boss FM Now. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern for more of the latest and greatest. If you'd like to watch our show, as always, they will be available for replay on our Boss FM app and on all our social media platforms. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. I'm Megan Avery.
And I'm Jerry Stanley.
Have a great rest of your week.